Welcome to A State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Rab and James Allen of Glasvegas. Welcome to GuitarGuitar. Nice surroundings, lads.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about the acoustic gigs that you play, the acoustic gig you'll be playing in Leith for us, so it's fitting that we're surrounded by acoustic guitars. But let's catch up on what's been happening over the last few months after the release of the record. It was 8 long years, but you got the chance to get out and play it live, James. How was that received?
Really good. I don't know, people seem to... It's always a bit of a surprise, I think, when people give you that much enthusiasm back and they always get into the lyrics and what the songs are about and all that, and it's the same with this one. You were quite sure that would have been...
I'm always sure of
it. Because, I mean, the thing is, you can only... It's the same with any song when you're writing it. Of course, you're going to really understand what it is and what your point is. But then it's normally Rab that will hear it, and then in his reaction, it's normally always really good anyhow. But this one, I think
I normally get a thumb up and get a bit of that and go. There it is.
But this one, he seemed to really love it, you know. So. Yeah.
The gigs were great. It was just a shame it was quite a short tour. We were supposed to be going to Europe as well, and because of Brexit and the visa situation, we've had to kind of try and reschedule that, so there'll be loads more happening, I guess, next year.
I know.
That's the plan.
See, when you look at some of the themes of that album, and it's based on the happenings of one day. Does that make it a concept album, James?
I guess maybe it does. But it's that thing, I guess, it really depends how the listener would want to receive it. You know, they could not actually bother with that at all and just hear it, individual songs, and hear it their own way, you know what I mean? Or they could, because I think even people in the past, even with the first album, the second album, people have, whether it's songs or whether it's the album as a whole, people have asked, oh, is it this or is it that? And I sometimes don't know how much detail to go into about maybe where I was coming from when I wrote the songs, but and how much just to leave it to them to you know what I mean, hear it the way they want to hear it. And
what about yourself, Rab? You give it the thumbs sideways or up the ways. What was your favourite moments of the album?
I guess my best memory was you had been recording in the studio, and you must have went back to Sweden at some point. And I went in and he'd left a demo open on the computer, and it was Cupid. And I heard it and I was like, yes, we've got some good songs. So when I hear the demos, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. And then every day, and then it was like really fast after that I think you wrote the album like within a few weeks, it felt like. All the songs, and it was like every couple of days another new song, cracker. And then he sent one and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And it was Stay Lit, which ended up being one of my favourite songs on the album. Remember, you were pure annoyed at me because I didn't like it at first.
I know.
Do you mean you don't like it?
I know.
I was like, I'm just unsure. Like,
I know, it's because I'm spoiled. I'm a spoiled brat, and I've been used to like the band liking all the songs. And then when you get like 4 or 5 albums in, then somebody doesn't like a song, you don't know what to do. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's. I remember like it's actually quite good. It's healthy that to you need to experience that as well. You know what I mean? It's good. It's a good thing. So I remember the first time even management was unsure about a song or whatever, and I was just like you know what I mean? Like, I'm not used to this. What? They don't like the song, and I was like, what is it you don't like about it? And I think it was maybe on this album, the one Dean wasn't sure about was Dive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is it you don't like about it? And he was just like, there's nothing I can hold on to. I was like, okay. And then, but me being me, I don't know, it's just a part of my personality. I just thought, don't worry, it'll grow on you. I mean, it'll be alright.
Dean was probably in the golf course in Portland at the time, taking a shot.
See, when you've got that creativity and the flow between a band where you're giving your opinion and you'll respect that. See, when you sign to a major Is it a wee bit more restrictive in any way, or were you strong enough to kick back on that?
It was so different for the way people probably imagine the dynamic to be. It probably depends on the band, depends on the contract, depends on the position they're in when they sign the deal and all that. But with us, it was they were really accommodating in every way, and that's what they were, and it must have been quite annoying for them at times. You know what I mean? Like not even just the music. I mean, anything attached to the band, like the artwork. I remember for the artwork, and we went into the studio, and it had to go this day. They couldn't leave it any longer, and I got there, and Ollie, A&R guy, said, "Right, are you happy?" And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh no, it's the rain, isn't it, right? That's on it." And he says, "What's wrong with it?" And I was just like, "It needs to be like thinner. It's too thick. There's not enough. And then if that's thinner, then with the clouds there'll be a more sort of there'll be a more like it'll be less flat looking. It'll have a bit more dimension to it." And he was totally freaking out, and then he was running about, and then he was like showing me the next, and he's sweating, and his hair's all fell out and all that, and he's showing us the next bit, and then I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and then that was it. We went with it. So even to that degree, that's the best example I can give, because then if they're like that about the rain, then they wanted us to be happy, you know what I mean? I know that goes against all probably the stereotypes that people have the business and all that, you know, and I'm sure that it is, and we've experienced it being not like that as well at other points, you know what I mean? But that was our experience anyhow, wasn't it, really?
There were some really nice people up there that really cared about the music.
Are you something of a perfectionist? Maybe Rabsy want to ask that.
Do you know what? He used to be more like that, and he's definitely like relaxed as he's got older. I'm not saying you're old, I'm just saying as you've gotten older.
I've matured.
Since he's matured.
Matured veteran.
But I think that's just what people are like in life anyway. They just start to, you know, maybe not hold on to things as tight and be as like worried if they're right, because I guess, yeah.
I think certain days.
Do you still have your days?
Molly.
Yeah, she's giving the nod.
Aye.
Definitely.
I think I've experienced a few things before that's just too. It's a funny thing, because with music, you've got to. People say you've got to get everything. You've got to get everything you've got, but then when you give it, and it's probably the same in other walks of life. When you give it everything you've got, where's the time where you need to be flexible and let something breathe in order for that thing to survive, and you don't hold on too tight to the thing, and it's just going to break. It's a hard thing to know where that line is at times, and I think maybe at the beginning you don't understand that at all. You know, I probably don't still understand it, but maybe understand it a little bit more. You know, I remember like really like it was the end of the world when the third album, the artwork was the black and white zigzags, and I phoned Denise, my sister, the manager, saying to her that the black isn't right and the white isn't right either, and she was like, "James, listen to yourself." And I was just like and I was like, "I actually," and I've been in that situation loads of times, you know what I mean, and because once it's done, and I think that maybe I'm just scared that I don't know what it feels like, and I never want to know what it feels like to be stuck with that thing. That thing lives on, and if it's not right or whatever, it's not the way I imagined it to be, then it's I don't know. I've never and I don't want to experience it. You know what I mean? But I'm still probably bad with that kind of thing. Thinking about it. Aye.
You know the last album cover, it looks staged. That image looks staged, but it was a friend of yours that took that photograph, and it was all very natural, wasn't it?
Aye, and that's what I thought. I thought that when you look at it, when I got this photograph sent like years ago, that's what I thought as well. It just, people would think it looks like it's just positioned, but then I don't know what kind of, it probably takes some kind of imagination for a photographer to think of that. But it's, I don't even know if she could remember taking it. Like when I said to her, oh, it's going to be the cover of the album, I don't know if she could actually remember it, which I don't know if I would forget about that if I took that photo. But and I don't know why I was thinking about it being like the Elvis album, the Clash album.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It was just that's the thing about writing songs and then the artwork side. It just, sometimes you don't really. It's not really there's not much logic. It is really driven by instinct. You know what I mean? Aye.
Are you and Paul and the rest of the band quite happy that James takes control of the visual side of things, Rob?
I have zero interest in it, so I'm more than happy to let him. The thing is, it's always good. Like, there's never been any because he does the posters and everything. So it's like that work is always good, because I guess if he's got a picture in his mind how he wants the music to sound, and he's clearly got a picture of the images that he sees to go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, even with the first record, even though there was other people like doing the thing, it was you that came up with the idea for what the artwork was to be. So even at that point, do you know what I mean? It was still him. It was like Starry Night. This is what I want. This is what I want it to look like. I mean, even before that, even before we were signed. So,
you know, the environment you're working in. How does that affect the mood of the music? You know, you've recorded all over. You know, New York, Transylvania, California, and Glasgow, of course. Does that change the mood of the music, do you think?
I think the biggest influence it will have in the music is probably if you've got a bit of space and a bit of time to actually make music. Maybe you think about the different locations, like, or if it's the beach or whether it's a thing here or there, but I think just actually having the time, the space to actually to make music, then I think that's going to have quite an influence. And whether it's on like a tour bus or whether it's when you're just in the house or whatever, you kind of just got to fight for that space or just make that space yourself. I guess there's been times where I think even we played Glastonbury the second time, there's quite a long wait when you're waiting about to play and stuff, and I think at one point the only thing I could do was, like, I remember I got a big line of peanuts, and then I had to set up the equipment, and then everybody knew not to cross the peanuts.
I'm glad you said peanuts, mate. I thought you were going to say something else. Aye, I remember.
And so wherever it is, but they've always been just, the thing is, see, with interviews, that I don't sit and say these things to him when we're just, sometimes when it's an interview, then it's a good chance for me to actually tell him that it's always been something that I've noticed. It's no went unnoticed, like I've not appreciated it. He's always went out his way to make sure that I've always had that space, or that when I've wrote a song, that he's always tried to look upon it and and recognise the beauty in it, and see it in a positive way, even when it's just been the beginning of an idea. And it'd be quite easy at that point to be unsure or whatever. They've never done that, and me being the songwriter and all that, they've never thought, oh, he's getting some credit for something, and I'm going to tell him I don't like this next song, never once, you know what I mean? And they're the things that make album after album, and that doesn't come to a stop, and it just break away, because you've kind of got that solid thing behind it, you know what I mean? So, thanks.
I'm going to bring this up because I'm sure anybody who's in a band at some point dreams of being on the cover of the NME, or did back in the day, appearing on Top of the Pops, all these things were like, you know, must do on the bucket list. So this covers 2008, that's before the album comes out, I think. What do you recall of that photo shoot?
I remember that James wanted umbrellas that lit up like the ones in Blade Runner, and there was people running about New York actually trying to find them.
Love it.
And I don't think we could. Was it the handles you wanted to light up?
No, it wasn't any. I just wanted for that. Maybe that was later. I think it may have been some other one.
All right, okay,
It was just black umbrellas.
okay.
That was it. That's what I remember asking for. But he might be right though. I don't know.
Enemy have called you the best new band in Britain. Does that make or break a new band, do you think? How did you accept that?
I didn't like that
accolade?
it said. I didn't like it that it said new. I thought the new bit was a wee bit rude. You know what I mean?
I know. I mean, we'd only had one single at the time. How dare they?
You had been pretty, prolific with the gigs. Eh? You'd played quite a few gigs by this point.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think before we made the album, in March in New York, and we signed a record deal on February 14th, and we'd sold out a 30-date UK tour before that, before we'd even signed. Just off the back of releasing two vinyls, which was just like, it was a bit mad, and they'd put us in their end of year lists, and then everybody was like this new band, and we were just like we'd been living in a van, put a mattress in the back of a van, and we toured up in the UK for 2 years. So people were like, "Oh, they've came from nowhere," and it was like, no, this smell Paul's smelly feet, the back of a van, and him farting and all this stuff for like years. It was like, it was a hard slog to get there. So when it came, I kind of felt like we'd deserved it, to be honest. I felt like that anyway.
So sometimes they're like, it's an overnight success, but you have actually been slogging it for...
Well, it was when I met a guy the other day, and I was talking to him, and he was like, "I mean, it seems like this happened overnight for you," and I was just like, "Oh, no, there was like so much that went into it." But I think because we didn't concentrate in Scotland and just Glasgow, we literally went up and down the UK, like playing in Wakefield to like 2 people and getting 20 quid for petrol, and then you go to the next venue and the next venue. And we did that for like a good year and a half, 2 years. So when it happened for us, it kind of happened in London as opposed to happening in Glasgow, do you know what I mean? So people thought it just came from anywhere. But we'd done our time doing all the rubbish wee gigs and getting washed.
I can't remember any of that, but
getting your foot up my sink in a toilet and cleaning yourself before a gig. Like, we'd done all that. It's like...
I think I blocked all that out, and he's got a much better memory, so... Aye.
And what you also got, though, during that time is a real dedicated fan base, didn't you?
Yeah.
Guys and girls that have stayed with you throughout that whole period. How much does that mean to you to have that core cult support?
I mean, the thing is, like, recently, like, people still aren't really buying tickets to gigs. There's still people funny about going to gigs because they're worried about going out in crowds and stuff. So when we did that tour, you could just tell the people that were there were like pure diehard fans. I mean, there was a couple of gigs where like you were having to ask people if they were alright because they were pure losing their minds, like pure screaming every word in the front. I thought, what gig was it? You had to say to the guy, "You alright, mate?" And he was just like, "James, every song you've ever written." And I was just like, even I don't talk like that. Like, brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And it is, it's pure diehard fans that like love every single song. So like, what else can you ask for?
Aye, definitely.
But this, you like anything, it's like a song, a great song, with the audience or somebody listening to it. You know, it's always the audience that makes the song light up, or that makes it alive. You know what I mean? And probably noticed when the fit, how bad was the fit bar without any crowd there? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's the energy, James.
Aye, it makes it alive.
It's better for me, but you know, not for years.
Talking of football, every small boy's dream in Scotland is to be a rock and roll star, a footballer. This man to my left done both. But what I want to know is, what type of player were you, Rab? A big imposing centre half?
So I was a big fat Wayne. So my place, if I ever played football with James, was usually in goals because I couldn't run, didn't want to run, didn't want to move, so I just stood. No, I wasn't really a football player. I was more like a computer player.
See if Mario Kart was a sport, you'd have been pro.
I played computer games. I'd watch for the sidelines. I was a wee chubby boy.
I was speaking to Danny Lennon, who played with you, I think, at Gretna.
Aye, Danny.
So I'm going to give you the Roy the Rovers question. Who's the finest player you've played alongside?
Oh, best player I've played alongside. Can I come back to that?
Definitely,
Right, okay.
definitely. I'm going to ask you another football music related question, because I thought it was brilliant when Eric Cantona appeared in Liam's video for once. Other than James, who obviously appears in all the videos, what other footballer should appear in a Glasvegas video? Who's perfect for a Glasvegas video?
Can I say Nacho Novo? He doesn't like James.
He doesn't like James.
One time we did an interview and James said he hated Nacho Novo and he wanted to snap him, and then we were at an event one night and Nacho Novo was like, I know you said you wanted to snap me, and I was like, mate, I'm a Rangers fan, you need to go and speak to him.
He said that hurt my feelings, and I felt bad about it, and it was sometimes you just say things, you're in a bad mood one day and you can't be bothered or something, and then you don't really think, but that shouldn't have. I take it back, you know what I mean? But the last question about I know the best player I've played against was in a pre-season friendly against Man City, and I was on the bench, and Kincladze was playing for Man City, and it was just a joy to watch, because I was like young boy at Falkirk at the time. And so all the older boys were quite, like, you know what I mean, like bullies and all that, and they would always kind of, and just watching them chasing them, and him dancing through them and megging them and all that, it was a beautiful thing. And then watching them walking off the park, just absolutely gutted, thinking about how bad they were, my teammates. That was pretty amazing. Even watching them in the warm up. Do you remember Kincladze?
Oh, he was class.
Aye, he was something else, man. But I think that was the best player that I'd played against. Aye.
And if you're going to have Nacho Novo in your video, surely you just have Andy Walker, James, just to even it up.
Andy Walker, aye, totally. Andy Walker's my all-time favourite player. You know what I mean?
See, when I look at this as a debut album, it's incredible. We still listen to it in the studio an awful lot on the vinyl. But I was explaining to the cameraman earlier that Go Square Go, here we fucking go. That is now sang at every venue and every festival. Did you know that was going to be the legacy of that song?
No, I think other people probably forgot that as well. You know what I mean? Like, I remember
that was like 2005. You wrote that. That wasn't even like close to the album. I remember you wrote that before we were in the studio. We were in.
I remember when I so a lot of time we just imagined the song, and then I'm a bit of a weirdo like that. And I was on the bus coming past this shop. I was just a bit further back, and funny enough, that's when I like thought of I probably was listening to the Beach Boys at the time or something, and I was imagining not the Beach Boys singing it, but like that kind of thing, and that's how I wrote the song like that. You know what I mean? But it's funny because it was just out there.
That's amazing. When we think about Glasvegas and the 8-year space between albums 3 and 4, then we get an album in 2021 and a new single in 2022. Tell us a wee bit about the single and also the artwork. I think it's a great, I'm going to say a cover, you know, but I don't know if it's actually printed as a record, but the cover artwork's tremendous as well.
Oh, for the new song?
So it's actually brilliant. I didn't know this because I was like, where did you get that photo from? And he's like, that's us, isn't it? I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, so it was a photo for Spain, was it?
Aye.
We played a festival.
Aye, in Barcelona, aye. And it was my brother-in-law, actually, was working with us, like, way back then. And he must have been up in the hotel room. They took the photo. I've got the photo in the one house. But so that's where the artwork came from. And what were you asking about the song as well?
Tell us about the song and the fact that we're getting an album 1 year, a single the next. Is that, you know, hinting at maybe more music coming in the future?
Aye. It's just it will be really nothing like the way that it was. So I think that was just a long kind of trying to find my feet, like how we plug things in, how we don't kill ourselves doing it, and you know, how we can get to a point where we're happy with the song, like without really anybody working with the band. But I mean, we could have even probably done it sooner, to be honest. You know what I mean?
It was supposed to be sooner than the pandemic happened, so it was supposed to come out that year. That year with gigs booked for 2020, and then I had to get pushed. So that was a pain.
Rab, when I saw you in Dalkeith at a festival, correct me if I'm wrong, but you went for a run before the gig.
Aye.
Right? Proper fitness fanatic, studying, but you still have space for a wee bottle of tonic wine on the stage. What happens when you're travelling about? How do you manage to source it?
So we usually tell the promoters to get it. If they can't get it, then normally like there's like a kind of 2-hour window before the gig. I go and find the scummiest little off license in whatever city it is. Obviously, if you go abroad, like you can't get it. Well, that's not true. You can get it in New York actually. So, but I've never found it anywhere else. So sometimes I'll take a couple of half bottles in my case, but
Normally Milan, they normally give you like 10 at Super.
yeah,
don't
aye.
they? And
Really?
They think it's,
Sippies,
it's like they think it's fancy, but
They're like, oh, for Scotland, that's it. I remember when we went to New York to do the first album, we were in the shop and they had like remember that box of old Tenants, like the bottles that they had?
was it?
It was like bizarre.
Oh,
It was like
aye.
for the 1980s. I was like, wow.
Incredible. We're surrounded by acoustic guitars. You're joining us in August in Leith to play an acoustic set. What do you love about the stripped back intimacy of the acoustic sets?
But Paul's not there. That's my favourite thing.
That's what I don't like about it.
I'm only
Paul's
joking.
not there.
The acoustic gigs are amazing because see when you take everything else away, it's like if the song's not a good song, it's gonna get found out. So when we did a bunch of acoustic gigs before the lockdown, and it was some of my favourite gigs to be honest. Like up there, you know, if you're crap, you're crap. That's it. There's nothing to hide behind. Whereas when we did the gigs with the full band, there's like a lot of noise and it was just great. Me and you did some gigs as well. And it was really fun.
Aye, because it's like with the sound and the band playing, it's like there's layers to that, and it's like you're taking away lager per lager. That's layer upon layer, Swedish. Taking that away, and it's sort of because it's the both of us playing, you can take it to a whisper, and it's sure that's letting a wee bit more command of that thing, you know what I mean? And it can just get a bit more inside the song, you know what I mean? But both is great, you know what I mean? Just in their own ways.
And again, I'm guessing that one of the big ambitions for a band coming through is to eventually play the Barrowlands. How iconic, how important has that been to Glasvegas?
We've done it a few times now, man. Like every time, it's funny because like everybody loves the Barras, but like when you're on stage sound checking and it's empty and you look out, it always looks tiny. To be honest, do you think so? But then when it fills up, it's a bizarre venue that way. But it's always an amazing gig. For some reason, like people coming to see you seem to like think more of it when it's the Barras because of the venue. I think like because they put so much emphasis on this, it must be a good gig if it's got to be in the Barras.
There's always been something quite, I mean for everybody it's something quite special, but for us, we kind of grew up around about here, and I'll tell you a wee quick story about the Barras, but I used to play football for Cowdenbeath, and one of the players had an agent, and he got the star player, he had an agent, so he said to him, got your tickets for a gig tonight in the Barrowlands, and I was the guy that he knew that was into music, so he asked me if I wanted to go, and so me, Rob and Paul went. This is probably before the band, just as we're starting the band or whatever. We were like, oh, this is cool, we'll get into the Barrowlands and all that, and we went in, and we got these AAA passes. We were like, what's this? You know what I mean? And we went right down after the gig, we went down to the dressing room kind of thing, and it was for Joe Strummer. And we were like, who's Joe Strummer? Who's this? And we went in, and Paul was like, oh, this is amazing, we get cans of Red Bull and crisps and all that, we can take it in if we want. And the drummer for the Mescaleros came here, and he was like, use the choral, because it was that band, the choral, that was supporting that night. And so we were like, we just wanted a wee bit of like compliments or a wee bit of like love, and we were just like, that's us. And he was like, oh, great gig and all that, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant, this is great. And I would just went a wander, opened the dressing room door, like in the etiquette. I didn't know the etiquette, I just like kind of, what's this in here? And I walked into the dressing room, and Joe Strummer was putting stuff into his bag, and just looked up, and I was just like, looking at him, and I was like, I just felt I'm not meant to be in here, and I just kind of edged back out the room, shut the door. I was like, oh, it's a bit weird that. And so then he came out, and I remember a woman saying, oh, my husband's too nervous to speak to you, and I was like, what? Didn't obviously speak to him. Who is this guy? And so Joe was talking to the guy, and then he was passing me, and I was like, Joe, I was like, sign my jacket. And he turned around, and he was like, he had like a wee tiny joint he's with. He turned around, he went to sign it. I was like, well, don't fuck it up. I wear this every day. And he went to write it, and he's just like,
So he
he was
looked up.
just like, just like that, pure eyeballing me,
I remember.
and then walked away. And it was kind of one of these kind of weird, because there was other people in the dressing room, and when I said that, what an idiot, you know what I mean? And everybody stopped, you know what I mean? He was just eyeballing us with this wee joint he's with, and I'm looking down at him. It was like something familiar about it, something weird about it, and then little did I know that, you know what I mean, a lot of people said to us, oh, you look Joe Strummer and all that. I didn't know that, you know, at the time, but it was something weird about it, something familiar and weird. And it's weird that was the first time that we'd been in there, first person that we'd met, as the first musician we'd met, you know, that. It's just kind of weird, isn't it?
Some introduction to the venue. Did you ever get a chance to regale Joe with that story in the future?
No, Joe
He
died
passed away a
just
few
after
weeks
it.
later.
Just after that?
So I think we seen him like in the November, and he passed away in the December.
Right.
So it was like that close. But we did a gig with Mick Jones years later on the ABC, and he got you up to do a couple of songs with him, and I remember Mick maybe didn't know who we were, maybe did, but I remember being on stage and he kept looking at you, and I could see he was like, this is weird, man. Because you had the jacket on, and he was looking at him as though, because I think you did Bank Robber, and you did, what was the other song you did?
I can't even remember, but there was another song, wasn't there?
Was it I Fought the Law, maybe? It was some,
Maybe
maybe,
it was
and
that,
it was just, you could see Mick Jones like, this is bizarre.
I knew there was one song, and I couldn't remember the other one, but I remember that he was the only guy that hadn't said, like, oh, you Joe, and I thought, that's quite bizarre, you know what I mean? He's like, and then we'd spent the full day together and all that, and then at the end of the night, it was just saying cheerio and all that, and it was just me and him in the hallway, and he was walking away with the guitar, and he just stopped, and he turned around, and he was like, fucking Joe. And aye, that was that, do you know what I mean? But we'd met him, do you remember we'd met him before as well?
Aye, we'd
at
done
that
it,
award
yeah.
thing, that, aye.
And you'll be coming back in December to play the Barras once again. We'll have the link for the tickets underneath the video as well.
Cool.
All that's left for me to say is, Rab and James Allen, thank you so much for joining us on A State of Mind.
Thank you.